false link, the disproved link between the attacks of 9/11 and Iraq has been made anew. Not by President Bush, who has finally given up on lying about that, at least in public, but by the candidate who would be vice president, Governor Palin. In our fourth story in the countdown, another common assertion that the United States will be able to declare victory in Iraq, Mr. McCain's main point, has been brought into question by no less an authority than General Petraeus. Governor Palin first. She spoke yesterday in Fort Wainwright, Alaska, to an Iraq-bound Army Brigade Stryker combat team of the 25th Infantry Division, which includes her own son.
You'll be there to defend the innocent from the enemies who planned and carried out and rejoiced in the death of thousands of Americans.
The governor had been invited to address the brigade before she was chosen as Senator McCain's running mate, but the ceremony was deliberately set for September 11, in part to be, quote-unquote, theatrical. According to Major Chris Hyde, the brigade's public affairs officer, the brigade will not actually be deployed until later this month. As for that theater of war, General Petraeus characterized the situation there as, quote, still hard but hopeful, but he said he did not know that he would ever use the word victory. Quoting, this is not the sort of struggle where you take a hill, plant the flag, and go home to a victory parade. It's not war with a simple slogan. Let's call in the Washington editor for The Nation magazine, Chris Hayes. Good evening, Chris.
Hey, Keith. How you doing, Keith? Good to see you, Keith.
Thank you, Chris. Chris, which is scarier, Chris? The possibility that Governor Palin does not realize that Iraq not only had nothing to do with 9/11, but the people who said that then, with the exception maybe of Vice President Cheney, have all pretty much abandoned that, or they're under, no longer in public life. Which is scarier, that idea or the possibility she knows better and has just decided to perpetuate this lie?
Well, it depends on, neither option's good. I think it's terrifying if she doesn't know. After every single source has debunked this claim, if she really believes that, that's terrifying because it demonstrates just how completely and utterly out of her depth she is right now. If she's propagating it intentionally, I think it's repugnant because it's false, and it's the kind of falsity that has led this nation into a war that never should have been waged. The point is that, and this is the takeaway, it's almost like the last 7 years haven't happened. That's really what it seems like when you hear her talk about foreign policy.
Is in that context particularly, did Governor Palin see somehow what worked in 2001, 2002, and is now sort of becoming a new person to this field and seeing, well, gee, this works really well, I'm going to try to follow it now? Is she actively trying to cast herself as the heir to Bush and Cheney?
I can't speculate on what she's trying to do. I do think that her responses to Charlie Gibson were tremendously Bush-like, particularly the notion that it's not what she knows or her experience or anything like that. It's just that she doesn't blink, that she's clear-eyed and she's sure of herself, which is exactly the kind of mindset that the Bush administration has displayed. But in some ways, Sarah Palin's sort of beside the point. She's just saying the foreign policy views of the man at the top of the ticket, John McCain, which are totally crazy, frankly. And the fact of the matter is, the Obama campaign has been going around saying Bush and McCain is more of the same, McCain-Palin is more of the same, but on foreign policy, McCain is worse than Bush. The Bush administration has actually been cowed a little bit, marginally, not enough, by all the failures of the last several years. McCain I think he sees the success of the surge as validating the entirety of his worldview and is doubling down and wants to be even more bellicose, even more forward-leaning in terms of foreign policy.
General Petraeus is part of this story. The opposite of crazy. He injected a dose of realism into this matrix of victory versus defeat in Iraq, and what he was explaining basically, the word does not really apply to this kind of war, which we've heard before. But it is central to the McCain campaign. He has taken on, against the advice of many Republicans, he's taken on the idea, we're in Iraq, we could stay there forever, we're going to win, I'm the one who can win, I'm bringing you victory in Iraq, all of these terms. What does he do about General Petraeus saying this?
Well, I'm tempted to say he ignores it and goes back to lying and slandering Barack Obama. But I think that, look, he's going to ignore it. And the fact of the matter is I sat through 4 days of the Republican National Convention straining my ears to hear what the plan for Iraq was. Okay, let's stipulate the success has brought, the surge has brought down violence in Iraq. Okay, let's stipulate that. What is the plan forward? There is no plan forward. Victory. Victory isn't defined. And you cannot win an occupation. And what's really frustrating is the fact that there is no other area of policy and political debate in which your prescription could be to just spend $12 billion a month and keep 140,000 Americans somewhere with no definitive strategic endpoint.
The one thing about the Petraeus statement, does it have value in any way for Obama?
I think it does. I mean, you know, I would like to say it does, and I think that every statement made by the people who are close to the situation in Iraq have backed up the fundamental Obama vision of beginning some kind of responsible phase withdrawal, whether that's Nouri al-Maliki or whether it's General Petraeus. The problem is that all this is sort of being washed away in this, you know, battery of nonsense that the campaign has become, and you wonder how much the actual real lived experience of what's happening in Iraq can puncture through that.
Well, we just need people who live near Iraq to look into it, and they can see what's happening from a distance. Chris Hayes, the Washington editor of The Nation. Thank you, Chris.
Thanks, Keith.